playing with space and light all my life. In the room my sister and I shared growing up, we had a desk that was built into the wall. I was just a quiet rebel then. So instead of the homework I was supposed to do there, I would take the colorful blanket my grandma had knitted for me and anchor it into the drawer and down to the floor. I brought in an old lamp, and the light would bounce through the holes and onto the wall. My cave of wonders. Decades later, when I had my own children, I wanted to share the magic of building cave forts and shining lights in dark spaces with them too. We'd hang flashlights in all the right places and snuggle up. Sometimes we'd just lay there and dream about the world together, but most of the time, we were reading. There's one story that's traveled around the world with us. In it, the narrator says, "My mother thinks if all the rulers of the world could get together at a friendly table in somebody's kitchen, they'd solve their arguments in half the time." Cozy spaces have always been important to me. But I thought, if I was going to build anything for my kids or in my community, as a CEO in my boardroom, or globally, I wanted it to be a space like that, a friendly table where we could solve our arguments in half the time. So I was inspired to come up from under the desk, out from the cave, and somehow I knew that building the table would be in my future. I've been fortunate enough to work all over the globe, finding success in systems on multiple continents. After decades in leadership, working to put all the right conditions for creative problem solving into practice, I thought I had a handle on it. I had written a couple of books, conducted research, published studies. I worked day in and day out to cultivate and nurture a system where true, flexible, innovative thinking could happen. Well, you know what they say. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. One day, one issue split the education community I was working in straight down the middle. At first, I thought, it's okay, I've been trained for this. I've even seen it before. I know how to manage polarities. But for weeks, the words over the table collided in thin air. This community I knew and loved were suddenly about to torch each other. And I realized this is the middle of the fire. I leaned in to listen as deeply as I could. Each side was educated. Each side was thoughtful. Each side also knew they were right. Solving our arguments was going to take much more than just being at the table. We've all been there. A family dinner that erupted, a staff meeting where people walked away shaking their head in disagreement, a relationship or a community that dissolved by dissent, burned bridges, or worse. I needed some time, but then I did what I often do. I turned to the research. And here's what I found. While there's definitely human nature and gravitating toward one side or the other. Staying polarized doesn't just limit productive dialogue or understanding. It increases conflict. I feel like many of us do right now. Stunned, heartbroken, increasingly anxious for a world where we were eventually going to destroy each other. Do any of you ever do this where you just wake up and look at yourself in the mirror and say, whoa, that emotion is not a good look on you? I said to myself, girl, you need to lighten things up. So I turned my reading to the subject of hope. Desmond Tutu, gosh, if there was ever anyone who was a model for courageously stepping into some of the world's most challenging polarities, he was it. Archbishop Tutu said that hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness. As you might imagine, this ability, hope, is essential to not just our survival, but also progress and thriving. Belief in a brighter future keeps us going. But a key distinction in the literature is that we can't just rely on hope and positive thinking. We also need to see ourselves actively in context with others and something bigger than ourselves. Fast forward, my business partner and I got to work, building a new kind of a table that is a framework and a process to do just that. Over the course of about a year, we virtually facilitated conversations with people from all backgrounds across 6 continents about everything from love and hate to commitment and resilience, and also topics like censorship, reproductive rights, gun control. If it affects us as humans, no topic is off limits. Here's what happened. When we gathered people together in shared, safe space, to the table, if you will, they were given a cause to pause. It poised them to feel more connected. And they said, wow, this has given me a lot to think about. But we don't just talk at this table. We intentionally use symbology. See, when groups use symbols to represent the different perspectives around an issue, they're more likely to reach a solution. So we use AI to listen in and generate artwork that represents the pieces of the conversation. When we take on these potentially charged topics, people attach meaning to the symbols. And it deepens understanding for the perspective across the table. I'd like to share with you some examples of the artwork that's been generated in these meetings. While you may not understand the imagery or see what these symbols represent, they are a direct reflection of the perspectives, experience, and ideas that created them. These are an amalgamation of very diverse ideas and hearts coming together. And because art has the power to both open us to the rawness of life and be a mirror, instead of being reactionary, people say, wow, I'm becoming a better listener. I feel more empathetic. And that's just the start. I want to share with you one topic we explored that at its core is the ultimate form of the ways we divide ourselves into us and them. And that is the topic of tribalism. Whether that is through blood ties or philosophy, lifestyle or geography, sports or politics, or even our online communities. Tribalism is our loyalty to one group or side or another. This is one image that was generated in real time during a conversation we facilitated about tribalism. Profound for the people whose experience and words created this. Through the symbols that brought their ideas to life, they very quickly had a depth of understanding of the ways tribalism was or wasn't reflected in their lives. But what they then articulated, where there is real power, is in the multarity of tribalism. Multarity, beyond the idea of polarities, is the state of multiple opinions or perspectives. When we view those multiple perspectives as a whole in one system, we call that a multarity. Tribalism, like any challenge or situation we face, is full of contrasting yet interconnected elements. This is the multarity of tribalism that this group articulated. Through this process, they came to the realization that there is both safety and danger in group solidarity. That tribalism, or being part of a tribe, offers connection, but also separation, which could challenge our ability to find balance between unity and diversity. That there's great value in shared beliefs and also importance in independent beliefs, because novel ideas are directly tied to a culture of innovation. There's great comfort in being part of a tribe. But growth happens when we explore what's outside of our comfort zones. And finally, that being part of a tribe offers a profound sense of belonging, but it can also lead to isolation, exclusion, or marginalization. When we embrace these multarities, we're able to better navigate the complexities, and we get stronger together. And that's when people begin to have deep insights. And they begin to say, wow, this is bigger than me. And you know, we're discovering something very interesting about our various tribes. That no matter how different they may be, we can also always find similarities and connections and learn from each other. And then people begin to say, this is not just bigger than me. This is bigger than my tribe. And actually, it's not just bigger than my tribe. It's bigger than all of us. I said before that I've been playing with space and light all my life. One thing that continues to get clear for me is that our beliefs are like a treasured knitted blanket, woven together throughout our lives that we use to build our special spaces. Sometimes those beliefs get pulled so tight that it's difficult for any light to get in. When we begin to loosen those yarns, think beyond the extremes of just two poles in multarities, it builds a nuanced understanding. One participant said, "This unraveled decades of linear thinking for me." She said, "I now see a different way." What power there is when light can get in like that and illuminate new solutions. I'd like to invite you to begin to let a little light in. Take this moment to reflect on where your ideas and information come from. Cherish those sources. They've made up the tapestry of you so far. And I also encourage you to add new color. Seek out new sources of information that possibly contrast with your usual beliefs. It's not about changing your views or belief system. It's about enriching your understanding. With the power of multarity thinking, we can break the limiting and often destructive boundaries of our polarizations. As the saying goes, alone, we are smart, but together, we're brilliant.